Evening, everyone. It's 5:30 on this Tuesday afternoon, March the 12th. And it was a very interesting day. We basically started out with futures being a little bit lower. Then the CPI came out, and there was a very short lived flush to the downside. And by the time the market opened, things were to the upside, and basically they never looked back. We had the Dow up 535 or 0.61, and also the transports up 95.99, also 0.61. We had the NASDAQ as the biggest winner, and it was absolutely the big names because there were more stocks down than there were up on the NASDAQ. Microsoft was up 10 and change after yesterday's big decline. Meta, after yesterday's big decline, made almost all of it back, up 1691 at 500 spot 50. NVIDIA, 919.13, and that was up about 61. And since then, it has continued higher. Let me just make sure I have this up to the minute. The last is 925.44, and that's up 67.73, and that's almost 8%. We also had Oracle, which had earnings last night, finishing about where it was last night at 127.60. That was up 13.47 or 12%. Also coming to life was Valero. And, why not? It was interesting that it closed at 152.35. And I believe that is a new all-time high close. It did close higher than that in January. It didn't close higher than that. It traded higher than that in January of last year, hitting 160. But on the day it hit 160, it reversed and closed at 143, a huge, 10% drop from the high to the low. But that one again, 152.35, and that is a new closing high. The chart on the screen is the oil. Usually I like to see these higher high, higher low, but the fact is, this one closed pretty close to the low, and that was somewhat disturbing. However, we did close out half of our XLE position that had an average cost of about 90 cents, and we got $1.49 for those calls. We still have half left, but the way that I matched it, trade for trade as first in, first out, these trades today were versus $1.06. But that means that what we have left over are the options that were bought at 58 cents to average down. So we still have some decent money there. And unless this turns on a dime tomorrow, or overnight tonight, then I'm going to say that we'll be out of those tomorrow. They expire on Friday. I was hoping that we would continue higher into the expiration, but taking it off the table today was an obvious choice. We had the gold here down pretty hard. It was down as low as 21.56. It closed 21.66, but still down 3/4 on the day. This has been a very quick move higher, but I would say that between 21.40 and where we closed today is an area of some decent support. You can see here that the 5-day is beginning to roll over a little. If you look at this on a weekly basis, it doesn't look like much of anything. Just looks like a huge move to the upside and a small decline. This was the other old all-time high at 2152.30. So today's stopping at 2156 is somewhat meaningful. But again, we could be 21 and a quarter pretty fast. But I don't think that that's exactly what's going on. Okay, so as I said, the NASDAQ was strong, but more stocks down than up, not appreciably, but about 1.2 to 1 to the downside, whereas the NYSE was 5 to 4 to the upside. We also had a slight pickup in volume again, 5.1 billion. And the VIX fell $1.38 to 13.84. Excuse me, that 15 and a half has been an area of fairly decent support. Nat gas was down 4 cents at $1.82. The gold, as I said, 2166.10. That was down 22.50. Bitcoin was down just a moderate 860, although I did see it lower than that. Let me just pull up that chart so we can take a quick look. The dollar also was basically unchanged. It was actually up 8.2 cents. Yep. And this is the Bitcoin. Let's look at the daily here. Okay. So on the daily, let's bring this in a little. On the daily, we still had a higher high and a higher low, but I was right. That low was 69,100. So we actually closed 2,700 off the low and about the same distance off the high, 73.8. So we closed right in the middle there. So not really much that I can glean from that. What I will say is that tomorrow is a very light day. There is literally only the uh, weekly mortgage apps. The prior week was up 9.7, and then at 10:30 the weekly crude inventories, the prior week was a 1.37 million barrel build. There really isn't anything until we get to Thursday, and on Thursday it is a very full day with PPI, core PPI, retail sales, and of course, it's a Thursday, so initial claims, continuing claims, business inventories, and the nat gas. On Friday, we have import and export prices. We have the Empire manufacturing, industrial production, and capacity utilization, and the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. So that's where we are, and I will be back first thing in the morning with a pre-opening comment. Hope everyone had as good a day as we did. By the way, we are now up 20%, just a shade under 20%, actually, $1,975 in a $10,000 account. And we are 13 for 14 in wins to losses. Same situation over in the big account, which is up about 9%, but about the same wins to losses. Have a good evening.